Greetings, Patrick here. 8 questions with. Welcome to the one show of the week. Yeah. Yesterday, right before we were going to go on, um, I got word from Robert Losardo that he had actually been scheduled last minute. That's how it is. How many times has that happened? That's the nature of acting that they have to go whenever they're ready to shoot. So unfortunately, he had a shoot yesterday, uh, and so he asked for a postponement. So Robert will be with us though. He will be back on May 6th, and of course that just make builds up the anticipation though, right? So as a matter of fact, I think I didn't ask him the movie he was making, but he actually might be making a movie that one of our former guests and future guests is making, and that's Austin Galante. I saw that he is making he's got his new movie coming out, uh, the Sanguine Teeth of a Driftless Road, which is a werewolf. I think it's a vampire story, and he is shooting a new movie right now, and I have a feeling that might be what Robert's doing. Small world, right? Really small world. Hey Anthony, how are you? All right, all right. Um, so that's what happened yesterday. So really last minute. So I put it up. I just put it up that we'll reschedule him for the 6th. Um, all right, tonight's guest is children's author, and I'm sure she's written a few things for older types. Is AD Owens. Um, and she is a well she actually has made her note in children's books. She writes children's books, which is fascinating to me. Children's books always are, because not so much of what they write but how they get written. And you would think that writing a children's book would be the simplest thing on the planet, right? Obviously it's not. Obviously it's not, but you would think so, right? Come up with a few cute pictures, make some words, that rhyme together. Dr. Seuss. Yeah, Dr. Seuss could do it. The Cat in the Hat. How hard can it be? How hard can it be? Um, it's awfully hard. And so we're going to get to discuss that, and the thoughts and the imagination needed to write a children's book as an adult. It's hard to think on that level, like a kid's level. Like, what would a kid like? And be able to go down there and create that world. Like I said, it's very hard. If it wasn't, then everybody would be doing it. And V is here. V is here. I have not seen her, and I have not seen you in a long time, V. So um, I know that I know Michael Anna's been everywhere. So hopefully, by you coming back here means that you are feeling better. Um, your voice is uh, yeah, yeah, we exactly right. So last week, this month we talked to a novelist, Christopher Farnsworth, who wrote Buried Secrets, um, and which is a Jesse Stone book from the Robert B. Parker, and he wrote that book. And again, it's like what appears to be is not necessarily true. I think if you come in there and say, we want you to pick up a franchise and continue it, and you would think that, wow, okay, well, that's not so hard to do. I mean, look at there's like they've already written like 40 books. I can just pick up and go from there. That's not true. You're required to come up with a plot, with characters, keep the characters within the canon. That is some seriously hard things to do. Um, And well, Christopher did. He kicked ass on it. Buried Secrets is a very good book. I was so pleased with that. I was tickled. I was tickled. I really enjoyed that. It was adult. It was he allowed Jesse to show some strains. It was a fine book. It was a good book. Um, I I don't know if anybody here is a big fan of the Spencerverse, the world of Spencer. Which is one of the cool things that I found out that Tom Selleck, his show Blue Bloods, uh, got canceled, and so he wants to come back. Before that, he'd been doing Jesse Stone movies like every other year for CBS until the last book, which came out on Hallmark. Um, Now, Jesse in the books, Jesse's probably in his early 50s, maybe mid 50s, maybe. Um, but as we all know, that Tom Selleck is 80 years old. Um, and he wanted to return to the character. And I I love the fact he loved the character. I'm glad he made his movies. And if he wanted to produce this, I'll be all in for that. But it is gonna be sorta hard watching him be Jesse at 80 years old, knowing the character is 55. That's gonna be rather hard. That's gonna be hard. But the good thing on the other side, the good thing is that it's caused between now the new book by Christopher, that has been doing gotten great reviews. So happy for him. So happy for him. He deserves it. He really does. Um, but because Barry Secrets has gotten such a good response, Tom Selleck coming back to the character, and lo and behold, now they're talking about doing Spencer, revisiting the world of Spencer. Now, about 4 or 5 years ago, Mark Wahlberg did one called Spencer Confidential, which was absolutely garbage, garbage, garbage. Um, and it wasn't anything that Robert Parker would have. I'm just They were talking about doing several movies of the character. That didn't make it out of the first. I didn't make it out of the first year. Nobody liked the movie. Everybody trashed it. That's not the Spencer that Robert Parker wrote. So hopefully they come back. She does. Let me. I'm gonna drop her. I'm gonna drop her. Yeah. Let me drop her page here. Um, so you can see her books. There's a list of her books and her illustrations, and the number of books that she has, a little bit about her inspirations, her imagination. All right. So hopefully, we will be getting Spencer back here relatively soon. All right. This is my last. This is the only show of the week here. Um, and after tonight, it is going to be go 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 for the rest of April. We have a ton of shows to do, a ton of shows. We are we we went bonkers. I know a couple of people wrote to me and says, "Hey, I don't really see you online anymore. I don't really see you up doing lives or anything here more anymore, other than your show. I don't see you do anything." And it's been true. I have been sort of like, haven't been on a lot of live streams, and I haven't done very many pop ups or anything like that. We still do the 8 questions with, and we still do the one ISC show the last of the month, which we really love to do, and we had a great show last month. Um, but but this month, if you haven't got tired of my face yet, but I guarantee you by the end of April you will, because we're going to be busy. Me and the cheetah. Next week, I'll tell you what's coming up here on next week. Next Tuesday on the 15th, we have two of the members of the Cinema Squad coming our way. Could be a third one too, but that's probably going to be in May. We're gonna have another. It's going to be another Cinema Squad takeover. I mean, they did this to me last year. All five of the squad members came on here and just took over the show. That's just what they do. and neglected to invite me to the rubber duckies. I'm telling you, they're vicious. They're vicious, vicious cinephiles where they must be stopped. Not that I'm going to do it, but throw that out there. So Sean, who's one of my who I respect tremendously as a cinema writer. He is definitely the real deal. He will be here, and he'll be joined by our good friend Anthony from Fever Dreamland Theater. Um, he will be here as well. We'll be talking a little bit about baseball, but we're going to be talking about the state of the movies, what's coming up. We're going to probably talk a majority. I really want to talk about is award season. I can't think of I can't really think of anybody more. I really like to sink my teeth into this than Sean and Anthony. So they're going to be coming by here on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about all things. We're going to be all talking all things movies 25 and award season. Let's see, sick of your face. This one I was complimenting. Oh, wow, that would be cool. The cheetah would be a fine tattoo. Oh my gosh, could you imagine that? But you have to include a maple leaf with it because we're maple leaf people. We're maple leaf people. We have nothing to do with that dweeb in the White House. The 16th is coming up here, and we'll be joined by the cast and crew of the film Director's Cut. Director's Cut. That's coming up here on the 16th, led by a good friend Rocky, who popped up in the show once. He's going to come back and bring his army with him. Maybe even not only the cast and crew of the film, the Director's Cut, maybe a special guest star that was been on the show before, and we watched one of her movies, Rising Star. There's our good friend Mike from Did You See That? Terrific review channel. I absolutely love his banners. His banners are the shit. I go over there and I just look at the banner on his channel and I already know I'm going to be entertained. I know we're going to be thoroughly entertained. Okay, AD. I don't know if I'm calling her AD or Anna, so we'll have to ask that. But she said that she is on her way here. She must be. She said she just suffered a power outage, which I'm surprised more people haven't had that. We didn't lose power during our last huge storm days. We had 2 storm days. We did not. We didn't have that last year. We had an EF0 tornado a year ago. Well, no. Was it last August? I think it was. Okay, so Miss Owens will be here shortly as soon as her power goes up. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna do this right here. I'm gonna challenge Mike because he's been hanging this over our heads. I talked to Ryan about this, but I'm going to challenge Mike right here because he can't run. But we're going to do a Clash of Titans. That's right. Me and Mike, we're going to get together. We're going to do a Clash of Titans in May. Clash of Titans is our ongoing series where we each pick a movie that we really love. So, like for me, it'll probably be something like Strong, like like Braveheart or something. Mike will pick Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and then we'll talk about it. And then Clash of Titans. Hi Bert, how are you? Clash of Titans is a series that I got on my channel here, where someone steps up. Two people step up, and we both bring movies that we both love, but we just happen to love one a little bit more than the other. And then we talk about it, and then we talk about why the other movie is, it's just a little bit more awesome. It's not a battle because we both love the movies. It's just that we each get to talk about why we love this movie so much. So I'm still waiting. And the person who I challenge, the person who I get to challenge, they get to pick the genre. They pick the genre, and the movie. They pick the movie that they want to talk about, and they get to pick the genre. And then I have to come up with something along that line. I have to come in with whatever they pick for as far as genre goes. I have to find something that fits into it and bring it to the table. It's a lot of fun. Oh, thank you, thank you. My ex-girlfriend looked like Medusa for the Inhumans. Nice. Oh, Medusa from the Greek. I was gonna say if it was Medusa from the Inhumans, that's not a bad thing at all. That's pretty smoking hot, actually. I never stare at her in the eyes after I get out of the shower. Oh my gosh! All right, I'm down for the Titans. So I'm gonna yes, because I know you're still cooking up what you're cooking up. And it's gonna be very exciting. I can't wait to be a part of it. Um, so many fun reviews that you've done lately, Mike. It's just been outstanding. I go over there to cheer myself up. I really do. I go over to his channel. I just look at it and go like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome." Uh, yes, You know what? I don't know, man. It's gonna be cool. I gotta come up with something fun. I'm gonna definitely gonna come up with something. We're gonna come up with something. He's gonna have to come up with something fun. He's gonna pick the genre. He's gonna pick the movies. So it means we'll probably be watching an A24 film. We'll probably be watching from something from A24. I don't know. People mess with me with that, but we'll see what Mike picks out. Um, but whatever it is, I'm ready for it. I'm definitely ready for it. All right, let me go back to the calendar while I got a chance here too. Let's see. My favorite Titan is the giant that came from the sea. I don't think that was Poseidon. Oh man, yeah, the library has been sort of sluggish, man. I gotta admit, I was a little bit, it's slow. It's supposed to be slow like this here now. It's supposed to be because our weather is generally a lot warmer than what it is. Um, and then yard sale season comes, and yard sale season comes on for about maybe like a month, 4 to 5 weeks. That's pretty much what people. That's how long pretty much the season is for. People come out, they see the warm weather, they do spring cleaning, so they'll get out there and throw some stuff out there to sell. Um, and I am actually doing yard sailing this year. I have heard from enough people to this year to sit there say that it's worth your time to go out there. I haven't done it really before because I don't want to go to places where they're going to be charging me like $5 for a DVD. That's what happens to a lot of places like yard sales, and I just don't want to waste my time because I'm not paying $5 for a DVD or a Blu-ray. As a matter of fact, um, let's see. Uh, oh, house auctions, is that estate sales? Um, I don't go to estate sales only for the simple fact that if I go to an estate sale, I will pay the money what they're asking. I will never ever go to an estate sale and bargain. No, won't do that. Um, let's see. Yes, yeah. I don't. Lorianne and I, we went to yards to estate sales, and we know what it was about. And I was very rarely ever embarrassed more for anybody than when I saw somebody try to bargain at an estate sale. They were trying to bargain, and like 4 or 5 people, they're sitting there haggling. They're trying to haggle at the desk, where they're paying at. And like 4 or 5, 6 people said, "Dude, this is not the place to be doing that. You don't haggle at an estate sale. You pay whatever they're asking for, and if you can't afford it, then you get out and you go somewhere else. That's you go to a flea market for that, but you don't negotiate at an estate sale. You just pay it." Which is one of the reasons why I did not do an estate sale. I I would have never made it through. I probably would have killed like 20 people. Oh, by all means, yes, please connect with everybody. If you're new to each other, please connect with each other. Uh, V has a channel as well. Uh, let's see, Ant Review Things is part of the Friendly Men. Let's see. Let's see. Yep. He's part of a collective called the Friendly Men, and they have a YouTube channel as well, um, run by James. It's James, Jonas, Ant, and Mark are the Friendly Men. All right, the doorbell has rang. You know what that means, boys and girls? It must be it's time for our guest to get here, and it is. And so let's put our hands together and welcome children's book writer AD Owens. And here we go.
Hi.
Hi. Glad you got your power back.
Yes, me too. We live in the South, lots of storms,
Yeah.
unexpectedly, so kind of used to it.
Normally I've been holding my breath here, because we've had some really good storms. We had one night where it literally went from sundown to sun up.
Oh God.
10 hours of storms. And it seemed like it parked right over our house.
Hmm.
And it was crazy. Um, yeah, so you are in the South. I'm in
Yes.
Michigan.
Oh
What
wow.
state? Huh?
I'm in Alabama. You're far from me.
Oh, okay, okay. We were talking a little bit about children's writing. We're talking about we had interviewed a novelist before he got here. We had talked to a novelist, and then when I asked you to come onto the show, I'm fascinated by it because you're a children's book writer, and I think that I have come to the conclusion that writing a children's book has got to be one of the most difficult things there is, as far as getting published.
Well, yes, I think getting published it's just difficult all around. Um, the writing part and the illustrating is the fun part. I have 3 children, 4 if you count my husband, 4 boys. So it's really easy. I have lots of inspiration, but yes, the publishing is definitely a feat, but it can be done just like anything else. You put your mind to it.
Before I was going to go further, do you go by AD or do you go by Anna?
Both.
Okay, I wasn't sure because there's pen names and then
Yes,
there's a real name.
yes. AD. I don't really know where that came from. I'm the youngest of 3 children, and there's a very large gap between myself and my older brother. So I acquired a lot of nicknames growing up and lots of ones I won't mention, but that was one of them. And just as long as I can remember, I'm 38, I'm about to be 39, but that just kind of stuck with me. And Anna is, I love my name, but it's kind of, I don't know, I guess I don't want to say ordinary because I do like my name, but AD just, I don't know, it just stuck with us. And my oldest son really liked it. So he wanted me to use that the first probably 10 years ago.
Is it true that when a woman writer publishes their name, because you see about this a lot, you see a lot of women writers, they write underneath a pen name or they write underneath a name like AD Owens, which is ambiguous. You don't know if it's a male or female. Um, is it true that they have to write that underneath a pen name or that way in order to get through the doors easier? Is it easier that way?
In my experience, no. But I, some of my favorite authors use pen names that are, initials. I'm not them, so I don't know why, but I, that could be a reason. Um, but it's just, we liked it. And my oldest son, he's really involved in, actually, he and I have a book together. And he's very involved in it. And he just, I don't know, he loved it. So that's what we went with. But I've never had that problem. I hope never to.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember, reading reading, um, like someone like Stephen King wrote underneath Richard Bachman, and there's been other writers that write underneath different names. I always felt that they did it because, as a male, they were doing it because they were so prolific. They
Right,
just wanted to get published. So if I come up with a different pen name, I can get, they'll publish my regular name, and then because you don't want to oversaturate the market. That's
right,
the reason why that's why he had to go to Richard Bachman, because if he just kept on, because he's probably the most prolific writer in our generation.
right.
But there's
Yes,
been others that have done that as well, because they don't, because maybe they get stuck in a certain genre. They're known for historical action, and after a while, they're just like, okay, I've done that. But I like to do something different. I like to do a monster book, or I like to do a kids book.
yes.
But the publisher won't let them do it underneath their pen name because they don't, because they just don't want them to do it.
It's part of
They're
their
gonna-
brand. And, maybe they don't think that their publisher or whoever represents them wants them to stay on brand. I completely understand that. I see it from both sides, but I do have two books that are, I would say, not so children's books. And it's just my first initial and my last name. And I just did that because they're not graphic or anything like that, but definitely not something that, a kindergartner or a first grader should probably read.
right.
So, I just did that to kind of differentiate a little bit. So that kind of goes along the same lines.
Um, can you see the chat? Okay.
I can, yes.
Okay. Okay. So if any of you folks have any questions while we talk, feel free to drop your questions, and we'll get to them for sure. Um, now I'm sorry, but I didn't quite hear the state that you're based in.
Oh, Alabama.
Oh, bam. Okay. All right. All right.
Yes,
Um,
roll.
yeah, that's a beautiful state.
It
Uh,
is.
yeah, I love Alabama. Um, let's see. An author needs to develop their skills to a different genre. Sounds like a great way to do it. I would think so too. I mean, when you first got started, and when did you start to write? When did you feel that calling at you? Were you in elementary school? Were you in? I know you laugh, but I know a lot of people got started when they're in the third or fourth grade.
I
Um,
was young, yes, and I I didn't realize it what I was doing. I just thought it was fun, and I thought it was fun to make up characters in my head. Um, and the illustration and stuff. I didn't necessarily realize that I loved that until later on. But the first story that I wrote was a present for a friend in kindergarten. So, and I still have a, like where I saved, my mom saved it and framed it. So still have that. So long time ago.
um, so what did you, as far as writing as we know it, when did that come to you? And did anybody recognize that you had the gift of writing early on? Did anybody spot you early on and say, don't give this up, Anna, don't, keep going? Or did you just write until someone found you later on?
Probably, I mean, I grew up and I had the most wonderful support system and teachers. And it was my sophomore year in high school. We had an assignment in my um, English class. I was in an honors English class, and it was hard. But when we got to write, that was fun. And we had an extra credit project that I forgot about until midnight the night before. And this was before, we had internet, but it was nothing like it is now. It was the dial up, so
Right, right. The free AOL this.
yes, yes. Um, and I always like followed the rules and always did everything I was supposed to. I was scared to not even, I was afraid I was gonna get in trouble if I didn't do the extra credit. Um, so I just, in a panic, I sat down at a computer with a very slow internet connection, like this oldest Word software program ever. And I had to write a short story, and it just came to me really quick. And that's how everything always comes to me, kind of in a sense of, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's normally when I least expect it. And I was very pressured and nervous and wanted to get it done and wanted to be able to turn it in the next morning. And I did. And, I thought it was okay, good. I mean, good enough, but I didn't realize everyone else would love it. And my teacher actually submitted it to a national contest, and I won. And that blew my mind. And she just really poured into me after that, encouraging me, if this is something you love, keep up. And I just continued with it through college. And it's always been, I don't want to say on the back burner, but it's just always been there throughout my personal life, my professional career. I work in, I'm like a virtual professional. I do a lot of marketing, advertising, admin, things like that, that's my first job. But it's always there, and I love it, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I love it. So I hope I love it forever. But yeah, I probably would have never realized, hey, not only, you're kind of good at this, you should keep working at it, if she had not really invested in me like she did. So, and I continue to have teachers like that throughout, and professors, and my parents, of course. So, but that's the first time I can like pinpoint remembering, oh, wow, I have a talent and someone else has noticed it. It's not just me being, oh, this is cool, but I'll always remember her and be thankful for her.
Now, for the contest, how old were you? Was this like junior high, high school?
I just turned 16 because I'd gotten my driver's license right around the same time. So that was cool too.
Yeah, what an accomplishment. So
yeah,
I mean, I guess you pretty much knew what you won. You sort of knew, like, this could actually work for me. I could actually do something with it.
Yes.
And then down what university did you head off to after you got out of high school? Was it U of A or the other A?
No, not well. I shouldn't say that, because I did not know exactly what I wanted to do. I did not know that I wanted to do a lot of things. I guess I should say that. And I could not decide on just pick one major. So there's a community college where I live. So I went there for about a year and a half. And then actually I was accepted to both the A's, to Alabama and Auburn, but my heart was set on the University of North Alabama. It's right on the Alabama-Tennessee border in Florence, Alabama. That's where I graduated from. It's wonderful.
Go Lions.
Yes, roar Lions.
We had our first question. See, we're prepped here on 8 Questions With. Our good friend Hobbs has just walked in. Hobbs, greetings. And V had a question here I want to go to. Oh, okay. She wants to know what's your 5 favorite books.
Wow.
I know, because I want to break that up into 2. How about this? How about your 5 favorite books growing up, and then your 5 favorite books now?
Those are probably going to overlap. For the rest of my life and growing up, always love Dr. Seuss. Like I said, I'm close to 40, and he's my favorite. He always will be. And he just was amazing. John Grisham. Love him. I do. I will tell you this. This is recent. They just made a movie out of it. Oh my gosh. It's right here. Hold on, let me get it. It's down by, I'm in my nice tree in the background. I'm sorry. You're going to hear a lot.
I'm sure we're probably in your writing room.
No, I wish I was brave enough to show that, but I'm not.
That means you're busy.
Yes. It is. Oh goodness. I think her last name is actually, my last name is Owens. Hers is Owens too. I think it's Delia Owens. Reese Witherspoon she made it into a movie.
Right, right, right.
It's like, it's on the tip of my tongue. And I read it in, oh my gosh, like I couldn't go to bed. And I can tell you every character's name, but the name of the book completely, let me see. I don't have a specific genre. I like everything.
You as a writer, you have to have an open mind, though, right? You can't come walking in there. I mean, I don't care. I don't, even like we were talking about Stephen King earlier, or even he himself needs a break to stop writing horror. So he'll come there and he'll do a
Yes.
kid's book, or he'll do a young person's book. He can't just sit in that same saddle and write it to the death, because he just burned out on that.
It wears, yeah, that's completely. And I think, like other artists and creative minds and brains, you don't just stick on one thing forever. You never know, especially, well, with me, I never know what character a person's going to pop in my head. But yeah, I completely agree with that. Where the Crawdads Sing. Got it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. That normally, I stick with, you have your favorite of something as your favorite book, your favorite color, your favorite food, whatever. And it's hard to beat those top few. And so when I read that, I was blown away. I mean, it's just, that's probably, gosh, it's right up there, my top, right up there with Dr. Seuss. See, yeah.
I was gonna say it must be. Let's see. He has another couple more questions here. Let's see.
I see that.
I'll let her finish her. Let me see. How many authors did you mention?
Oh gosh.
Do I think we need one more?
I really, I love poetry as well. Maya Angelou, I love her. Her work is, I don't know words to put on her. Like, I'm just speechless when it comes to her stuff. And it's, we were taught it in school. I've read it my whole life, but I can read something, a piece or a poem by her that I've read a million times. And every time I read it, I get something else new out of it. And that, I think, is a talent that a lot do not have. And she was amazing.
Oh, writing poetry, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, poetry is a tricky beast, isn't it? I mean, it's such a fine line between poetry and a Hallmark card.
Yes. Yeah. That is very correct. And
Right?
my children's books, most of them rhyme, and that it's kind of a tribute to, obviously, yes, yeah, because it's just fun. But then I think about writing poems or writing anything like that, and that's just that's a whole nother level. Like that, it really is. You really have to be careful not to sound like a Hallmark card.
Yeah. Yes, we'll get into that for sure, because I have questions about that. Let's see. Which children's author would you like to do a collaboration with?
I saw that one pop up, and I had that in the back of my head. I was thinking,
That's a good question.
Oh my word. That's a really good question. There's so many. Obviously,
children's writers, they don't really collaborate too much. I mean, as far as writing the book itself. I mean, because and please, just because I'm a layman here, I like I said, on the surface, You would think it wouldn't be all that to write a children's book, but it is, like I said before, I also said too, that it's probably the hardest thing to write. It's not the easiest. It's actually the hardest. You would think a 40 or 50 page book with illustrations would be like whatever. But if that's the case, how come we haven't had another Dr. Seuss?
I,
Another
I know
another Shel Silverstein.
that's another Shel Silverstein. I was just thinking that's another one too. I've been blessed so far. Again, I have a lot of inspiration and a lot of creative minds and really fun situations that happen around me because of my children. So, I'm blessed with that. And they are everything to me and my inspiration behind all my books.
Mm.
Actually, all of them have something of one of them in the book. But to be able to, you get in, you think of your characters or you dream them up and you get in that mindset, but you also need to think in terms of, what's going to spark a child's imagination, what is going to get them excited about reading whatever it is you're writing. Because, it's a kid, especially, the super young ones. So it's fun. It's never been, what's the word? I don't want to say hard because it is hard work. Everything worth doing is hard work, but it's always been very rewarding. So it's just, I'm blessed. I'm so thankful. And it's just been an amazing ride.
Yeah, I just, and Hobbs was mentioning a couple here too. Now I feel like these are probably more up to collaboration type. You could actually collaborate or take over somebody's. Like there's been other books written underneath Frank Baum. He mentions as far as collaboration goes, and that's like Goosebumps, where they have various different writers.
Yes.
Or they had Frank Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz, and other writers have written along that line. But I think both of those are, they're aimed for an older audience. And he also mentioned too about you just got to mention the imagination. I thought what a great lead in, because he also mentioned too. He mentions like Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes is that's what he's going to do. That's what Calvin's doing when he's growing up. There's no doubt in my mind. Anybody who's read Calvin and Hobbes at all knows that Calvin's going to end up being a writer.
Right.
Hobbes will keep him safe until he gets there, but with his imagination, the places you go. What a perfect compliment. Dr. Seuss says the places you'll go, and Bill Waters is going like, hold my coffee. I'm going to do that. And how much and how and just. But I also feel too, it's like there's just nothing. You just can't, there's only one person that can say that. I couldn't say that. I couldn't sit there and say, oh, I'm going to walk in there and Calvin and Hobbes, and because there's just no room there's no room to collaborate. Watterson had it down pat. Some writers, some children's writers, they have it locked in. I can't see anybody after talking to you even for 20 minutes. I can't see anybody walking in your shoes in your world. Whereas adult books, it's easy as pie. It's like eating. It's like you look at my what I mean by easy as pie is to me it's easier to come in off an adult writer and try to follow them than it would be to try to follow the kids writer.
Oh yeah, because you're living in that world. We're adults. It's very. That's why I keep talking about the inspiration of my children. They bring me back. And I get out of living the adult life, just being an adult, because it's not always fun. But collaboration. I love picking other people's brains and seeing how they tick and how they work and what inspires them and what they think of. So I can't see myself ever turning something like that down.
What? If someone came to you and offered you, but you don't see that in kids' books. You don't see it. You don't see or do you? I have never seen anybody who's written a popular, or like Dr. Seuss.
Hmm. You see a
I
lot of,
don't.
like the writer and then the illustrator, or
Has,
that's
has that happened? Has that actually happened where Dr. Seuss's book? Because I see the books, but it always seems like all I think I'm looking at are all the reprints. I've never really seen anything brand new from the estate of Dr. Seuss. I've never seen anybody. I never heard anybody sit there and say, "Okay, well, I picked this person that continued writing, in Dr. Seuss's style." I've never seen that before. I don't think it's possible.
no, it's not. I don't. I would. Wow, that would be, talk about big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
I I just think that it would be just so immense. Even if the writer was, like it's tough. Like our friend Christopher Farnsworth, he got picked by the Robert Parker estate to write the new Jesse Stone book.
Wow.
It's a good interview. I'll send it to you.
Yes,
Um,
please.
uh, and he was talking about how he was a fan, and we're both Parker fans. He was a Parker fan, and to get in there, and you would think that, wow, okay, all I have to do is just walk in there, but it's not that easy.
Mm-mm.
But it's easier to do that with an adult line, than it is for a kid's line. I mean,
I agree.
because the ground's already been set,
Hmm.
in a lot of ways. But how do you reset somebody's imagination? Going Dr. Seuss. I want you to think like Dr. Seuss. I can think like Robert Parker a hell of a lot easier than I can with Dr. Seuss because I, I I would have no idea. Even after reading all his books, that
You can, a mind like that, like Dr. Seuss or like Maya Angelou, like I don't that I don't see how, that's just, again, I'm speechless. That's a mind that is kind of a once in a lifetime thing. I mean, gosh, I could do my best to, everything I do is inspired by him. He, again, my favorite author of all time, but because a lot of my growing up, I remember some tricky times. As a child, children have feelings. They
sure.
have, they struggle with anxiety. They have big feelings just like we do. And I remember having big feelings for whatever reason. And then one of his books, I mean, I'm talking as young as 5, 6. I don't remember what was going on or what was making me, you know, feel the way I felt, but I remember, A Cat in the Hat or Green Eggs and Ham, finding little things in there that I could relate to that got me through that. And to be able to reach a young mind that young is just, and help them through something. I mean, and that's, kind of for me, that's what it's all about. And I hope I can do that as well.
Um, Now, do you have any? I guess I'm not sure if this is a term or not. I guess a series. Have you created? Let's go back to this. What was your first book that you wrote yourself that you published? I mean, or your first published book? What was that? And tell us about that. What was that like? I mean, how did
That,
you? Because
yeah,
the other thing too about children's books is, at the same time, nobody can sit there and say Dr. Seuss, right? No one can. I can't do that. But at the same time, how do you separate? You go to you pick up a child's book, and it's like, how do you separate a regular child's book? If I go to the Barnes and Noble and I see 50 books on the shelf there, what is the one thing a publisher or a writer such as yourself? What's the one thing that you can do to make it yours? Like, if this is AD Owens book right here. I know exactly what I'm getting when I get this. I'm not going to get confused. You walk in there, back when we had video stores, you walk inside a video store and you'd be overwhelmed by 200 movies.
hmm hmm
Books too. I'm gonna get a child's book. There's 50 titles out there. How do I know which is really good and which is not? How can I find a book as good as AD Owens? Um, what are some of the criteria that when you write to mark that you use to make your books you and your own unique voice?
That I can't, I that is something in anything that anyone does, you want to be as authentically you as possible, and that will shine through. I, my oldest son, Charlie, his name is Charlie, the one we have a book together. He was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder when he was 2. And I don't, he is amazing and exceptional. And I wish he was here. But when he was diagnosed, it was kind of like someone took all the air out of my lungs, because I had no idea. I'd heard of, I knew about neurodivergent minds. I knew about autism. And at that time, I think it's all on a spectrum, but they had Asperger's then, like high functioning. But I just heard of them. I mean, I didn't know anything about it. And here, 12 years later, I can't imagine that it does not define him. It is a characteristic. It's part of him. It's what makes him who he is. And if I would have known about the resources and everything, and that we have had this whole time and been blessed with, I wouldn't have had to feel that way, and there's so many people that go through that. And that is a big part of my writing. Yes, it's fun. Obviously I want to spark their imaginations, their little eyes and their minds with bright colors, fun things, but also there's a message behind everything. And when I write, I want that to come through in my writing. And the same way I said before about, I remember, feeling a certain way when I was young and reading a rhyming book about colorful eggs and ham, it's cool and fun and bright, but it helped me through something. And my first book that was published, actually, it is a children's book, but I like to say adults can benefit as well. And it's the message behind it speaks to children and adults alike. And that's a little part of me that I put in everything that I hope comes through and I hope sets me apart. I know it is, my heart and soul. And if I could have everything I wanted in life, or let me say this, if I had one wish, it would be for every person. And I don't mean to sound cliche. This is how I feel, to know how their worth and their importance. And I'm a very emotional person as well. So I need to bring that forward. If I start tearing up, I'm sorry. I am very emotional, but
I think that's because you see things in your mind's eye. I mean, it's a part of you as a writer, and you also do your own illustrations.
yes.
So I can see a reason why you would you get emotional, because you can see it and you can write it and you can see it together. That could be a bit of an overload,
Mm-hmm.
In writing a child's book, especially if you write about subjects because I mean, who would ever thought, I mean, Shel Silverstein did, but I mean, he's the only one that I know personally that was not afraid to write about death on a child's
Right.
level.
Yes.
Seuss never did that, but
Yeah.
I mean, kids these days, their understanding of life, maybe because it's forced upon them. Do you feel that way? Do you feel children's imaginations are developed now better, or do you think that they're forced now? Like you're sort of forced in, and sometimes kids' imaginations, they take time to develop,
Mm-hmm.
to come up with that, to be that creative. I mean, look,
Yes.
you wrote when you're in elementary school, junior high, high school, then college. You had a beautiful time to develop your imagination to where it is today. But it seems like now it's being squished. It's like you're asking a child to experience everything between elementary school and junior high. And it's not, I don't think the children's brain is designed for that, as what they're reading. I mean,
Hmm.
do you feel that way? Do you think that sometimes we're over rushing our
Oh,
kids'
yeah.
imaginations?
I think, I include myself and my husband in this as well. Just as society as a whole, everything is piled on children so fast, so young. Everything, and it's I can't imagine. I mean, I have a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and life for them, they're safe. We're blessed. They have a roof over their head. They have, a wonderful family. They have food to eat. But the things they experience, I can't imagine that being going through that at their age. And it's not, and I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about how just society, pressure, um, people or groups of people or society is thinking they, like you said, like trying to force things on them, like you need to be this way, or your imagination should, use up more. You should do this. No, well, you should be. Here's, my 10-year-old is doing calculus, and it's just regular academics. And that blows my mind. I did that when I was in 11th grade, a junior in high school, and it's so much, and that's just, it's 2025, and the whole more is more thing, it really, it's dumped on kids, and they need to be able to, like you said, the little minds develop, make, experience things on their own, make decisions, based on what they experience. And I'm not saying like go let your kids, you know, do whatever they want to all the time. That's not what I'm saying, but develop their own little personality in their own way, in their own time.
So how do you do that with your writing? I mean, what are some of the things that you yourself put into your books to help do that, to help slow it down? Like it's okay to read, to read my book slowly, and it's okay to, if you want to see a purple cow or whatnot, or if a book rhymes or doesn't rhyme, it's okay.
Hmm.
It doesn't take anything away from the fact that you're enjoying this book and in the moment. Um, yeah, I just, I feel like sometimes I'll see these, and I'll see like they're getting rushed,
Hmm.
as far as the topics go. But I'm glad that because slowing it down, making it enjoyable, making it making reading fun. I mean, isn't that the whole thing, is to make reading fun?
Yes.
Um, what are some of the things that you put in your books that make it fun for a kid to read? I mean, do you have key components that you have to put in every book, or do you write from the hip? Do you write just on what you're feeling, or is there a standard way? Oh, it sounds terrible, but is there a standard
But
way of putting in? You got to put this inside of a child's book. You got to put cute animals in, or bright colors, or a wrinkly road. Are there certain things that editors or other writers have told you that, well, if you want your book to go anywhere, you have to put these elements into it, or do you feel like your elements should come from you and what you experience?
there's always, there've been both sides. There's a certain, you know, as in anything, you want to be successful, you need to include this, this, and this, and whatever you're doing. Um, and for some things that might work, but for me, in this, it does not. Like I said, I try to, or I do, like I make it a point, like to just, there's no specific, I don't sit down and think, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write or make up a story about this. I never know when that's going to happen. It's very, so my children will do something, or they'll tell me a story, or I'll see something, or I'll dream something random. And that's just what it is. It's, an idea and inspiration. And I always want the authenticity to come through, in everything that I do, but especially this, because if we can't be this, in my opinion, if we cannot be our most authentic selves for our children, for the future, then, what are we telling them? And, that's pretty much my whole, that's my philosophy.
I think people, I think even parents themselves, and if there's any parents out there in the chat, you can tell me this. Either drop a comment or drop a question or opinion. It's like sometimes you watch. Sometimes sometimes you'll go inside of Barnes and Noble, and you'll sit there and you'll people watch, or I do, and
I
to
do
me,
too.
I like to see what they buy. I like to see what they pick out. Like, why did you pick that book out? Why did you skip that one?
Mhm.
Number one bestseller, everybody loves it, and yeah, there they go. They'll pass that up to go ahead and grab Herman Melville.
Mhm.
So like, that's my boy right there. That's my
Mhm.
girl right there. Something along that line. They'll sit there and say, and, but I don't know. I just find it fascinating to see what people read, and I just like to think the reasons why they pick it. Like what causes people to pick up. I mean, for some books, it's all about FOMO. I don't
Right.
want to miss out. I don't want to miss out, so I'm going to buy it anyway. Even though you don't know it, but look how many adults end up buying Harry Potter but they didn't know shit about it. It's like, oh, my kid
Yes,
likes it, and also I'm going to get into it as well. Um, I,
I agree.
yeah, I mean it's. Hmm. Now let me ask you a question about your writing style. Now, you mentioned, I mentioned, going to Barnes and Noble. I like to go there and relax, have a cup of coffee, and do some reading. Um, once in a while, I would take my laptop over there, and I did a little bit of review work or whatnot. What is your and what is your style of writing goes? Do you like to write in a noisy atmosphere? Do you go by yourself? I mean, if you are writing, do you have like a sign out there that says, you know, Charlie, you have a great idea. Hold on to that. Mom will be out there. Uh, how does it work for you to when you start writing?
You know, I'm in a noisy atmosphere pretty much. Right now it's very quiet, and that's my kind husband took my children out to eat, so there would be nice and quiet, but normally it is not this way. So a noisy atmosphere is my normal. Um, I'll get whenever I think of or an idea comes to me or I see Charlie Bo and Joe Michael, those are my children's names. They do something funny or for whatever reason, I'd make sure, to mentally bookmark that or even speak it into my phone as like a note. And whenever it's normally late at night. I've always been kind of a night owl, I guess, and I still get up early. I'm just not a real good sleeper. I guess that's what I should say. But
Mm.
later at night, everyone's asleep. It's so quiet almost that it's a little eerie. I don't know why that works for me, but it does. That's every book that I've published that it's been during those times, and just that's when it's happened. And it's like I don't know, why, but that's when I do my best stuff. And the not that I mean I guess I should be used to all the noise and all the chaos, and it shouldn't bother me, and I don't think it does. It's just happened that way. And now I look back and I think, oh, okay, well, I guess that's
But
that's my
writing is one of those things that once you have to get like once you get going on it, you don't want to stop. You
right.
don't want to be interrupted because writing does, whenever I write, I like to feel I'm in the zone. Like I want to sit here,
Oh, yes.
I want to crank it out.
Yes.
I don't want to be interrupted. Like, okay, something's happened, something happens, something happens. That to me, it would just seem like too many interruptions would probably affect the. It wouldn't necessarily affect that I could
Well,
write, but it might affect how the story that I'm telling. Like because I think how you feel emotionally comes through the fingers.
yes, it
You
does.
know,
Yeah, it's that the whole. I'm sorry, set my Dr. Pepper down. The process or like the flow of that. That's absolutely for me at least. That's a big thing. And like I said, it. I don't. I'm trying to think right now. I know as far as my books that have been published, they've all been written and the basic illustrations done within sitting down at one time. Um, and again, these are children's book. These aren't 800-page novels. That's a little different of a process, but
mhm.
it's like I got to get it all out right then. Once I sit down and I'm in the quiet. And I'm in the zone. I can't stop until it's done, and I think that's pretty standard in any
Now,
creative process.
what's the general line for a child's book? I mean, is it like 30 pages and maybe 1,200 words, something like that? I mean, is that too
I
many
think
words?
yeah, I think the cutoff is 20. It's somewhere between like 24 and 30 pages. Um, for I mean, everyone I've spoken with, and you know, the rules and publishers and stuff I've been with, but uh, again, that depends on if it's a picture book. It's just a couple of lines, big pictures and stuff, or if it's more advanced. And I mean, like getting into like fourth, fifth grade, preteen years. That there's so many different with kids. They change their little. They're talking about their imaginations and minds evolving. You know, they go from their little minds that love just colors and fun things and to Harry Potter quickly. So that's
I
that's
do
one.
think I do think kids today. I think their maturity level for reading is much higher today than it was when I was a kid. Um,
Absolutely, yes.
I mean,
You
I
know
do. I mean,
things, yes.
when I went to junior high, there was two people there that were reading Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I love Lord of the Rings.
I mean, you're talking like a couple of 11-year-olds, or 12-year-olds reading 12 of the Rings or Lord of the Rings, while the rest of the class was reading Archie and Reggie. Like who, you know, it was
Yes.
like, and yes, I'm proud to say that I was one of those two kids that was reading that level. I loved to read when I was younger. I mean, I still read now. I read, when there's a good book, I can go through it. I read Christopher's book in 2 days. It was really, I haven't done that in a long, long time to crank it out like that.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think that the level of writing and the level of published material today is the strongest it's probably ever been. To me, it also tells me too that it's a lot more responsibility on the writer too to make sure that they write responsibly. I mean,
Hmm.
how do I feel about? Let me ask you, since you're the professional here. How do you feel? Because this is a legitimate concern for a lot of people, though I don't know how I feel about it. But how do you feel about when someone writes a book about lifestyle? And they're writing it for like a sixth grader or fifth grader. Like, okay, we want you to, other people are different from you. Some people like other, what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Um, how much of a responsibility? I mean, I'm sure there are some hired guns that would be happy to do that. Is this something that when you go about to look at other people's books, or has it been something that you yourself have looked at, like, okay, like I said, I'm having fun doing this, but I also want a child to get something out of it. I want them to grasp something to learn with it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like Lord of the Rings, we learned about honor. We learned about honor. We learned about different, good versus evil. I mean, we're doing that when we're reading the Bible in Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but what's it like now as a child? Like as a child's writer, would you allow a book like that to come inside your home? And someone wrote about, like to a fifth grade level about controversial issues that are going to be life. They're facing that going forward. Do you feel that we should, again, it's like, do you feel like we're rushing them? Like, or should we just sit there and say, I don't see why you need to bring up, like things like that when the child's going to learn that anyway, going down the road. And to me, I feel sometimes like a lot of that is just done for controversy. It's done
Mm-hmm.
for to get a writer's name in people's mouth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, why are you writing about a lifestyle to a kid that's at 10 years old? They don't
Right.
need to. I don't think necessarily need to read that.
Right.
I don't. He's not going to censor it. I'm not going to censor that. But I feel like I don't think the writer has the child's best interest at heart. I think
Right.
he has, I think he has that at the interest of heart.
Yes. Controversial subjects are that, because in my opinion, you know, they're controversial because they're made that way.
Now,
Not
who decides that?
that's what and I would say not by any one person, saying this is this and this. It's just I think it goes back to and my, we if we don't understand, and I say we, I mean me too. We don't understand maybe a way of life, or it is we don't we might fear what we don't know, and fear not meaning being scared of it, but fear meaning that's it's the unknown, and that kind of creates don't it's easily friction happens. um as far as my home, my children, and what I you know write or create and put out there for anyone to read, and children, adults, whatever. I think it's hmm, I want I'm just going to tell this the rule in my house. I'll just say that. uh I was raised just to form opinions, and for myself, presented with this and this, what learn what you can, what you make your own. Don't be influenced by someone telling you this is right or this is wrong. This is how you should do this. You shouldn't do this way. If you do it this way, then you know that you're wrong. That's not how I was raised, and that's not how we raise our children. But that being said, I do think there are appropriate topics and things for specific ages. I'm not going to be real excited about, if someone was trying to force my 7-year-old to read about something that his mind doesn't need to know about anytime soon. I mean, he's a child.
exactly.
He's trying to figure out his own little world already, and he does not need to be forced into the minds of adults right now and deal what we're dealing with. Like, let them be little. Um, let them grow. Let them learn how to see the world in their own way. And so it's just a fine line, but it's there's no right or wrong way. There's no book. I wish there's no real book with kids and with life in general. But that, like I said, I think we need to allow them the space to be kids. And one day they'll, when it's time and they're of age, they can make their decision about this stuff.
I thought J.K. Rowling, who I absolutely adore, I think she did it right. I mean, she wrote her books, waited for years,
Yes.
waited for years, and then came back and said, these are the characters, and these what they're all about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think if she tried to do it right out the bat, I think her series implodes. I don't think it
Mm-hmm.
goes. But she was smart, and then she just sat there and just let people talk about it. You know, it's like, what are this character's like? What is she trying to say here? And she kept her quiet. She kept her peace. She kept her quiet. And then when it came down where she felt the audience, her target audience was old enough, mature enough,
Mm-hmm.
he said, "This is what I meant by what I wrote."
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Everybody got their ass, their feelings bent over, but who cares? It's not her. It's not their world. That
Mm-hmm.
she allowed them into it, but it's not theirs. So
Right.
they can't tell her, dictate to her about how she feels or what she puts in her words. If you don't like it, then you leave the world. But
Mm-hmm.
she was smart into not revealing that until later on, until she felt that the people could handle it. And then
Mm-hmm.
we found out that a lot of people just couldn't handle her honesty and
Mm-hmm.
her point of view. She's allowed to have an opinion.
Oh yeah.
And that's the other thing too. It seems like now, and children's books are probably at the forefront now you know of the censorship that's taken over the country.
Mm-hmm.
I think half the books that are censored are aimed for the teen market.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible, horrible thing. Um, what's your opinion about that? I mean, what's your take about, let's say that you did write something about, that someone thought that was controversial, Magnolia Moms, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you wrote that, and all of a sudden somebody in Florida got a spur up their ass and said, "Oh, I don't want this in the library."
Mm-hmm.
And it could take as little as one person to complain to have your book pulled.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah.
what do you feel? What do you feel about as a writer? I mean, is this something that you yourself fear as a writer? Do you feel like it influences you in going forward in the future, or are you just going to sit there and say, "I'm writing the way I'm writing. I'm not changing it for you or anybody else"?
Yes, that. Um, that goes, it's about being, if I did not feel that way, I could not sit here and say I'm being my true authentic self. And that's not saying I'm, if they don't want to read it, they don't have to. They don't have to, it's just that's kind of I'm not forcing anything on anyone. And that's, you
So
know,
that's their whole problem. That's their whole thing. They feel like like the kids are coming out there, they're being forced to be, to find out what the rainbow flag's all about. Like I don't want my 10-year-old to know what homosexual is. I don't want my 12-year-old to know what about history.
mhm,
Now with our history being wiped out, I don't want them to know about the Civil War. It's like I just think that it just does so much damage. Um,
well, yeah, because they're not.
you don't have to read it, but by God, don't take somebody else's way. Don't take somebody else's right to do it. To read about it.
Don't take someone's chance to what form their own opinion, learn something. I mean, it's not. Yeah, that's bad. No one's going to agree on. No one's going to see eye to eye on everything, but that doesn't mean you can't be informed and learn. And you know, if everyone had that philosophy, I think we'd all be doing a lot better. But that's just, this is
There's a
human
lot. This is what I was saying earlier about why I feel like children's books are the hardest one to write, because you have to include all that into it. Whereas
nature.
an adult novel, you don't have to worry about it so much. You have to worry more about plot lines than you have
Right.
to worry about what's in your book.
Hmm.
You can go ahead and you can go ahead and get an adventure book, drop a nuclear bomb on it, or like inside the book you can have a nuclear attack, or you could have a mass murder and the detectives are trying to find them. You could do that. Oh, there's no problem there, you know. But to sit there and write a kid's book and to and and thinking about all the things that goes into it. I have nothing but respect for the genre. I think writing a kids book is that takes skill. It's not nearly as easy as like I said, people think it is. It truly isn't. I mean, yes, you could go out there and you could go out there and make some things rhyme and what have you, but does not make a good children's book.
Right.
Um, okay, let's talk a little bit. There's another thing that sort of bothers me a little bit, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'll leave it. I want to hear your opinion about this. Um, does it matter where the voice comes from as far as like does it matter where it comes from as far as what's being said? Um, I say that because there's a lot of celebrities that will sit there and say, "I'm writing a kids book," and I feel like they just feel like they slap their name on it and it'll sell. Um, does that do a lot of damage to the market itself, knowing that someone like a Reese Witherspoon or whoever it is writes a book that they didn't write themselves and slap somebody's name on it? Do you find it to already basically poison already a small field? Um, and how does that how does that work? I guess I should ask you this too. Do you have a writing circle? Do you have a writing circle you belong to in
I
your
do
town?
not. Mm-mm, I do not.
Okay. Have you ever been a part of a writing circle?
Um, yes, and it's yes.
That's got to
There's
be
no
tough.
yeah. It's the getting being being represented, and we're getting an agent, and all that after being published. It's very hard. But I like to think, there are books that are out there, or just any work of creative work that's out there that maybe someone else did, and they, or whoever, they're they just see the dollar sign, so they slap someone well known's name on it. um but that, I feel like that's in everything. And just as much as that there, I like to think and stay, like steadfast in the fact that as much of that there is, there's the opposite. I've read several books or memoirs by celebrities, that the reason I got them and read them was because I thought, oh, it's just another one of those. It's just, I bet they're just, it's their face on the front and their name. They, just to sell it. But then I wanted to prove myself wrong, and they're, I have, and they have a story too, and some of them, a lot of them, all of them probably need to be heard. But it just goes both ways. And for me, I just try to think. I try not to think about too much of all of that other, because it's very easy to get discouraged, and think, well, what am I doing this for? Or I should probably just, what's the point? And if I get to that point, then I'm not doing it for the right reason anyway. So
Is it
yeah.
easier? I mean, do you have an agent and a manager? I mean, are you part of a publishing house, or are you a one woman machine?
Well, I've got little, almost like a little bit of everything. I pre- I don't want to say I prefer it, because I don't want to. I my book with my son Charlie. It was published by, or a publisher, Fulton Books. And they're wonderful. We love them. The whole process has been wonderful. They've taken stuff that I would normally, you know, there's always going to be stressful stuff in anything you do. So they've taken a lot of that weight off, and it's been great. But the one I feel like I'm my most creative self for the time being, doing the whole, one woman show thing right now. Um, but that doesn't, I'm open to anything, but I guess I don't know. I don't want to say one way or another. I prefer, because, I still feel like I'm a baby in the whole scheme of things, because I am. I feel like I'm just getting into just the little, like the bottom, I'm just climbing up the bottom part of the ladder. So I've still got a long way to go. But that's exciting for me. So
Our good friend Al Descartes has walked through the door. He is actually a librarian in New Orleans.
and where?
In New Orleans, New
Oh,
Orleans, Louisiana. So
yes.
yeah, so I'm sure your books are over in the library. Um, God, I've walked through the children's section of the library, and it's amazing how many books that there are.
It's fun.
We
I love
we
it.
don't
It's so fun.
have our library is, it's like I would say it was sort of like it's sort of like a medium size. It's a single
Mhm.
story,
Yeah.
and we have that. They have their own. They have the kids section. The kids section. Then they have the young adults and the adults and whatnot, and they have a computer room. Our library is really nice. I just you just hope that they just get they're already under attack, even more so with the present administration. Um, trying to trying to trying to basically dumb down our society.
Mhm.
You want a society that can be controlled. Well, make them stupid, and do that. Take away books. Let's see. Right now, he's checking right now to see if we carry
Aw.
any of your
Oh, that's my
books.
website.
Yeah, that'll be well. And if you don't, then I'm sure he could walk up to his library's buyer and make a
Mhm.
suggestion. How would one do that? How if I went to my library next week and I wanted to know if an AD Owens book was in there, how could I get your book into my library if it wasn't?
They're all with I know most of the libraries here and the schools here, they all use Ingram Spark for as their distributor, and all my books are with them. I'm not sure if their library, if they use Ingram Spark, but normally they'll have like a login, and then you can just go from, like, I'm on the author side of it. I'm not on the, oh, good. Okay, cool. Yeah, they have like a login or a password, and they can go in and order.
Wow. Well, there we go. There we go. We'll see. We'll see if your book's here, and if not, then Al will go ahead and see what he can do to think something like that could happen.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. See? Isn't this fun? Aren't you having fun with this? And I'm sure this
Yeah.
interview is unlike anything you've ever had to handle before. But I knew that you could. I knew you could
Oh, I
handle my
love it.
questions.
I'm like, it's very, like I said, I'm used to being around children all the time and thinking in the mind of a child. So I love any kind of, like adult conversation and this type of style. This is it's great for my brain and my mind. And I appreciate it. I'm so thankful.
Al is he's also known as the Bat, and I'm the Cat. We do the Cat and the Bat. We
Oh,
we Yeah, so yeah, we do another show called the Midnight Society, and
oh,
we get together and talk about all sorts of fun movies. Um,
oh, that sounds like something I want to join on that too.
yeah, we can get you involved. I can
That
get
sounds
you.
fun.
I could even do one so much. I can't. Actually, I can't think of. You'd be fun to talk to, but maybe we'll invite you to a Clash of the Titans. Like
Ah,
we'll
yes.
have the librarian. You could be the team librarian, and then I'll come up with somebody else. We'll come up there with library versus something or another.
Oh, I
Um,
love
so as I have to let me. I just want to. This is just for me personally, but is is Shel Silverstein still thought of very highly? Is it still? Do you feel like Do you feel like he's a voice that has, like I sometimes I think some writers, they get phased out. I'm a little bit surprised by that because some of the writers I grew up with, like when I go to the library now, I never see them. I never see their names out on anywhere. Is that part of the game? Like, is there a shelf life for a children's book? Because to me, I would think that a good child's book is priceless,
Yes.
like Dr. Seuss or Shel Silverstein, or do they have a limited shelf life where if you're not moving your book after a while, you better start thinking about the next one, or is it or are they bulletproof? I mean, they can sit on a shelf forever, or they can
I
sit on a shelf.
that I can't imagine. I don't know the last time I was in. I know all the library here, and then all our schools here. I can't imagine not walking in the children's section somewhere and not seeing the giving tree.
Such a
I mean, it's literally. I mean, again, I'm not going to show you in that room, but my bookshelf, I can see it from here. Like that is just. I
I
don't.
think that was the first adult book I ever read.
It's so good, and
It,
it's.
it really is. His I read his autobiography,
Hmm.
and he was a fascinating character.
Hmm.
He was a great cartoonist, illustrated. He did a lot of he actually did a lot of the jokes and illustrations in Playboy when it first started out.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's he was well known for that. But he wasn't well. I don't think very many people put 1 + 1 = 2 together. But
Hmm.
he was able to write both on the adult level and on the child's level. Um,
I know it's amazing.
is that rare these days, in your opinion? Do you feel like if Harley Quinn came over there and said, "Hey, we like your style of writing. We want you to write a romance book." Could you do it, or would you have a hard time handling that?
Um, I could do it. I don't. I know I could do it just because I know myself, and I would challenge myself, and then that would just be it. But it would be. It wouldn't be a walk in the park. I would really have to. I got to draw from somewhere. I got to get. I have to be able to get into get out of Anna or AD not thinking the way I do, and get into the mind of who the characters in that book or what it's going to be about, or and that's a big step. But I feel like I'm a pretty creative person, and I love experiencing all different things and learning all different things, and so I think that kind of would help me, just get along, just because I'm intrigued by so many different things. If it's whatever it is, if it's something I've never heard of, I want to know about it now. Like I want to learn about it just because I,
Well,
go ahead.
you mentioned you wrote two books that aren't children's books. What genre of books are they? The two non-children books that you write. What two were they, and what genre are they?
They are, it's actually, it's Magnolia Moms, and then the Magnolia Veil. And then there's a third one, um, probably next year. It's women's, like, fiction, Southern women's fiction, kind of,
So gothic.
yes, but a little suspenseful. But again, it's not like, I would say, ooh, I just hit my thing. Someone like, like a 16 or 17 and above, it'd be good. I mean, it's not adults only.
Does it does it surprise you that romance is still the number one genre, and when it comes down
It,
to writing? I
it
didn't
does.
know that. I didn't know it. I didn't know that at all. And then they said, yeah, the number one genre is romance. Well,
Because I mean, think about it, you can escape. Like it's the easiest when you're reading that book. You completely leave your life. You completely leave anything you're dealing with, and you are like you escape into that whatever. I do at least. So I mean, everybody needs to
what do you read? What do you read on your off time? I mean, what kind of books do you read? I mean, we asked you earlier about the 5 favorite books, but I'm sure you read more than 5 authors. So what are some of the other books, some of the other genres you like to read?
I really like I'm trying to the past little bit it's been a whole lot of math books. Like I said, my 10-year-old's doing calculus
No.
and things that nothing wrong with that, but it's not my
Oh.
I don't prefer that. I don't love math. That's not my favorite thing.
But you're reading it to understand it to help your child. So
Yes, and honestly, I think it's more him helping me understand it at the end of the day because wow. I spoke about poetry earlier. But I didn't, it just kind of, I just fell in my lap. I've really gotten into that a lot more. And all different, like as many different kinds as possible, just because I've always loved, like I said, Maya Angelou and several others, but there's so many indie authors out there, and it's just so many amazing like pieces of work that
I'm gonna go dive into the world of Virginia Woolf this year. I've never
Mhm.
read anything. I've never read anything from her, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
dive into it. Are you? What do you? I'll let this be your last question. But what are you currently reading now?
Well,
Besides the math book.
oh, well, there's a couple of things. One, and you're about to hear my dogs howling. I apologize. I don't know if you can hear that. They howl at the moon. Actually, one of my books is about them. Currently, I have been reading. This is gonna just surprise you. This is something I challenged myself so many times throughout my life because there's so many parts of it I don't understand, and I've challenged myself to read the Bible from beginning to end. And I'm in the thick of that right now. And I've learned a lot. I've answered a lot of questions, and that's, it's not always, the Old Testament is, it's hard. But
It's probably pretty easy for you to read this and come back with the one thing above others is we as sure as hell ain't a Christian nation according to that Bible. If we went by strictly what the Bible wrote, if we go by strictly what the Bible wrote, we're about as far away as being a Christian nation as one could think of.
well,
You know,
gosh,
if
if
you
we
think
went, especially like in the Old Testament, I mean, there's some stuff in there. If we went strictly by that,
oof, we'd be about awash in blood.
yes,
Um,
yes.
and even here in the New Testament, I mean, it's even more obvious that
Mm-hmm.
we are not like we're a godly nation. A comedian, I love it. Thank you. I just love that. Right? I mean,
Yeah,
but it's fascinating reading though. It's
it is.
and
Yeah,
but it's hard to live by.
yes, it is. And it's, and that's the I think the more someone understands, that's another thing, you have to kind of form your own opinion. There's so many different there's so many different views and translations and all of that. And
You ever ask anybody to quote scripture other than John 3:16?
well, I am from the Bible Belt, so that's a pretty normal. Pretty much everybody here can do that because we were all in Bible drill. We were forced to go to Bible drill, growing up. So That was
Uh,
fun.
I, I, I have a feeling that I have a feeling if you and I walk from door to door, and we ask people to say with scripture other than in the beginning or in John 3:16, I have a feeling honestly we would have a hard time
Mhm.
finding anybody that could quote us 5 scriptures. I
Oh,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Uh,
agree.
but but that's a tussle for another time. But
Yes,
that's a good book to read, though.
it is.
Um,
You know,
as a
it's
matter of fact, I have my wife's Bible right here on my desk, right next to me, and not only that, but part of my stand for my microphone is and you'll get a kick out of this. Let's see where to go. It's I promise I didn't do this before the show. But it's what it's but you mentioned the book where the crawdads sing, and it's
wow.
based.
That is
So
crazy.
see, I do homework here on 8 questions with.
I think you
Uh,
did. Yeah, that's awesome.
I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us today. And I was looking forward to this for so long. Susie
Oh,
said yes. I was very excited about this and the chance to sit here and chew the fat and to explore the mind of a very talented writer, very talented, very skilled, and well, you just don't get a chance to do that. So I want to definitely thank you for the opportunity for to letting me talk to you
well,
and
thank
to
you. Pleasure's
I,
mine.
I enjoyed it very, very much, and I wish you nothing but success. And whenever your next book comes out, the third Magnolia book, when that
Yes.
comes out, let me know. So we'll come back. We'll talk about your series. We'll
Yes.
talk.
Awesome. This has been amazing. I'm so grateful and just getting to listen to you and hear your thoughts and you're very, you're your mind is great. And I can just, it's so easy to talk to you and has to have this conversation. This has just been wonderful. I'm so thankful. And I would love to do it again anytime.
Oh, definitely, will come have you come back. Next time you come back, I'll also see if I can drag the bat to come out and hang out with us too.
Yes, please.
Uh,
Please. That'd be great.
Alucard. It's a, they say, well, Alucard is drawn by blood.
Hmm.
Well, he's drawn by blood, but he's also drawn by a good damn book. So
Yes. Yes.
if you want to get Alucard to come hang out with you, just wave a book out there. He'll fly.
I love it.
Uh, all right. And he's quoting scriptures too. He's quoting.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Pulp Fiction, my favorite. Oh my Lord, have mercy.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Don't give an alligator popcorn. Yes, that's coming really soon. Really soon.
will there be any? I should ask this, Al. Let me ask this: is there any chance at all for your next book that you can squeeze in a bat and a cheetah?
Sure. I love animals. That's my most favorite thing. And they're, yes.
I have a cheetah. Al's a bat. So you already know. You already know that. Uh,
Yes.
uh, a lot of people don't know that. Even when you tell them that, look at his name, it's Al. Al Ducardi. He's not hiding it. Yeah, but yeah. Let me know if you want to illustrate a cheetah. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I
Um,
would love to. The
but thank
ideas
you.
are happening.
But thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Al, thank you for coming in there and hanging out with us for the last half of the interview. That's right. There's our call sign.
Yes. Thank you, Al.
Bat and the cheetah. Um,
Love it.
we'll be back here next week on the 12th as we have Sean Jackson and Anthony from Dreamland Theater. Uh, and they will be here next week, next Tuesday on the 15th at 8 o'clock. We're going to be talking about award season and talk about movies coming up in 2025.
Fun.
And as you know, Sean and Anthony are part of the Mighty Cinema Squad. They'll be coming over, taking over 8 questions with next week. Looking forward to it, and it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to put down Anna's information down here so you can go to her website, buy a book, buy 3, buy 10. Check out the illustrations and also her Instagram page that you should be joining. You can join her Instagram page and her Facebook page. I'll put all that down. and go visit, say hi,
Yes.
tell them that the bat and the cat sent you.
Yes.
Um, all right, you stay right there for one more minute, and everybody else, I'm going to say goodnight for now, and we will see you. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys.